I want to make sure that you all can hear me. I know that the audio is connecting for many of you, and I think the one person that may be able to hear me, who can hear me? Can you put in the comments whether you can hear me? I want to make sure that you all can hear me. Okay, good. All right. I hear some feedback, so let's see. I got to do something on the YouTube end. Thank you. Who can hear me? Can you put in the comments whether you can hear me? Okay, so we're going to go on and get started this morning. I wanted to give folks an opportunity to get into the room today. Let me see. We got about one or two more minutes. Thank you for letting me know you can hear the audio. You don't have to be on camera. In fact, it probably will work better if you aren't on camera so your audio can work. All right, y'all. So we're going to prepare the way. If you can make sure you have your incense lit, water, that you are settled in your space. Just make sure you go on and get the things that you need, and we're going to get started 1 minute. We're going to give folks a chance to get into the room. All right, we're going to start with our official welcome song. As usual, this is when we know Rebirth Sunday is live and ready to go. All right, I want to go on and get started just because I want to make sure that everyone can hear me. So this is another test. I see some people's audios is still connecting. Can you, I want to just check again and double check that you can hear me. I could hear myself when I tested on the other end. Okay, so I see some people can hear by the phone, some people are hearing in different ways. So I just want to make sure you can hear me. Okay, Jeannie can hear me. Okay. Um, Jeannie can hear me. And I don't want this to throw off the message. This is kind of like the second time this particular number did this. And so if I have to change the number, I will, and we'll update the other things because I want it to be seamless. But I just want to make sure. Okay. So folks are saying that they can dial in. I'm not sure why it's exactly doing that, but what's most important is not necessarily the how right now. It's the what. Can you hear? I've got one yes, that you can hear. I just want to let you know, yes or no. Can you hear? Thank you. Yes, yes, you can hear. Okay. All right. So thank you so much again for joining today, and we'll get this worked out. Welcome to ReBirth Sunday. For those of you who are here for the very first time, I am LaTanya Taylor, affectionately known as the Rev Coach, the Juicy Spirit Mama, the Priestess of Purpose, Pleasure, Passion, and Profits. And so today, I was led because of everything that we have going on in the atmosphere and in the universe. It's so important right now that the mothers of civilization gather. It's so important that the mothers of civilization enter into spaces to raise their vibration and be reminded, and sometimes to remind one another. And the scripture that came through for me was, I will look to the hills from whence cometh my help. Now, I want to do, before I finish reading the scripture, I want to be very clear about something. The Bible is not just a book of religion. The Bible is not just a book of religion. The Bible is a book of codes. And so it reveals itself to you at the level of your consciousness. If you are still stuck in the level of consciousness that you inherited from your mother, your father's religion, and you have not questioned it, you have not learned how to crack the codes, then it will be a trigger for some of you that when there's any reference to the Bible. For others, it will be refreshing to you because you have studied and showed yourself approved at one level, which allows you to access other levels. And so the study does not continue. What the study does is give you access to other levels. So I say this with love, that this version is the King James Version. We know who King James was, and that's not the point of this particular sharing today, if you will. What's important is that you understand that there are messages and there are codes for us to be able to access this particular part of ourself, of our consciousness and our mind. And so what came to me to share today with the mothers, the mother goddesses, why am I emphasizing that? I'm going to tell you in just a moment. I'm using Psalm 121. I will lift up mine eyes to the hills from whence cometh my help. My help cometh from the Lord, which made heaven and earth. He will not suffer thy foot to be moved. He that keepeth thee will not slumber. Behold, he that keepeth Israel shall not slumber nor sleep. The Lord is thy keeper. The Lord is thy shade upon thy right hand. The sun shall not smite thee by day, nor moon by night. The Lord shall preserve thee from evil. He shall preserve thy soul. The Lord shall preserve thy going out and thy coming in from this time forth and forevermore. Okay, LaTanya, why did you choose that text? I'm so glad that you asked. And if you can only respond to me in the chat, I will accept the response in the chat. I want to know, I want you to participate. I want to know if you're feeling this so far during this season and this time, because there are reports at every turn about what's happening on the earth, from the shooting in an elementary school to another 20 people dying, and was not reported in the Rio Grande. It was not reported with the mainstream news of the West. Right before that, you had 8 people who were shot in another scenario in Buffalo. Before that, you had other incidents. There's more happening on the planet. Whenever there's a main story, there's usually a backstory to that we are not paying attention to, because our emotions get involved with it. It's hard not to be emotional when you start looking at the loss of life when it comes to children. So what happens when you go on social media and people are in despair? People are grieving. What happens when you are grieving in your personal life? Just in April, I was preparing to do something that the Spirit had been stirring in my belly for years, actually, not just a few months, but years. The culmination of ReBirth Sunday Live, the live experience on Easter Sunday. And our beloved Mama Helen made her transition. Now, you all know I'm in a year-long process of initiation where I am called a Yawo, Iyawo, which means bride of the Orisha, bride of Olodumare, bride. But when you are born, when you marry into this process, you become like a child again. And so that you don't take your babies out to everything. Most people do not bring children to funerals. Most people do not take their baby out in the rain or in the wind. You cover them up. So there's certain things that I have to do to protect my energy and my spirit. So the first thing, I'm concerned about my Drina, my godmother, my spiritual covering, because Mama Helen was a part of my spiritual covering. And so we, as the community, began to mobilize to make sure that Iyanla was okay. And here comes Iyanla calling me, the Reverend Dr. Iyanla, my mother. I'm just using it for the public reference for you to understand and to know who she is. But she's calling me. She's calling to say, Yawo, are you okay? Yawo, keep your head. So understand the tables have turned of me giving and pouring, and I instantly have to shift to be able to receive. So we are all going through phases and shifts and things that are happening in our personal life and happening on the grid. Now, in addition to that, there are laws that are being changed. The WHO organization, the Biden administration, they are making decisions about your health and your livelihood. The economy is changing. The dollar is absolutely losing its value. People are advising you that if you have large sums of money in a bank account, you better know how to now redistribute your wealth. If you even have a little bit of savings, you need to know how to invest it, whether it be in cryptocurrency. Most of us need to learn about silver and gold, real money. According to the Constitution, real money is silver and gold. If you work with me, you already know this because I've taught a whole series on investing in gold. I have invested in gold, invested in silver currently. I've invested in cryptocurrency. I've gone up and down, fallen off, studied the tides. You got to find something, even if the old way is not working, to pull all your money out. Even if you had $100,000 in the bank, in most of your banks right now, you cannot go and pull your money, your hard-earned money, out of that bank the same day. You have to sign for it. It's almost like they investigate you for wanting to get your money. That ought to raise some flags about the banking system. Everything is being reset. The corruption that we are seeing that is being revealed is not just in Hollywood, my loves. It is at every turn. You cannot talk about it on social media lest you get flagged. You cannot even tell people to take the herbs that are going to save their life without them suspending your account. How do I know? Because I know too many people who have posted innocent things and literally have had their account shut down just for telling people to take vitamins and herbs. Why? What is going on the planet that they want the people to stay in the dark yet be emotional about other events? Now, other information is coming out about the police who stood on the sidelines and did nothing. That ought to raise some questions. I can't go into all of the other pieces. Some of you have said, "Oh, that's a conspiracy theorist." You all better pay attention to everything that you've discounted as a conspiracy theorist, because therein lies breadcrumbs. Therein lies the Alice in Wonderland, the rabbit hole that you may have been afraid to go into to understand how to plan for your family. Yes, the truth may piss you off, but the truth will set you free in the end, because there's another movie out. I don't know if you all seen the movie called Don't Bother Me. You should go look at Don't Bother Me. Understand, why are they allowing one corporation to buy large sums of property, which is driving up the rent in urban municipalities as well? Why is it that Amazon is moving into cities? Because, see, the new slavery is not the one that is forced upon you. The new slavery is the one that you will volunteer for. This is why many of you responded to the call to come and mastermind with me on business. See, I couldn't come and talk to you about juicy, being a goddess, when you know your livelihood is being questioned, when your heart is troubled, when you are losing family members and you cannot get to them. No, we have to have a word for a time and a season such as this. It was a growing period for me to say, LaTanya, you can't sit on this now. You have to share this. If you've done it for other corporations, you have to do it for your sisterhood. Now is the same time. And so that's why we're having a special call to lift this energy. If you have gotten distracted, if you have fallen into despair, if you have been, your intuition has been going off, but you do not know where to look, or you've been too afraid. You see, when you come into love and light, oftentimes you only want to deal with love and light. But the goddess, the divine feminine, has several aspects to her. And one of the aspects of the divine feminine is the dark feminine. You have to be able to access the dark side of your, not just of the planet, but of your own consciousness, so that you will know how to mobilize your family and cover your family. When we say that the women are rising to the occasion, become the priestess of their own household, what does that mean when we look at this scripture? I will lift my eyes. Why? What do? I got to lift my eyes. I cannot look down on anyone. I cannot be looking out into the valley of what is going on, lest I be distracted. I got to look to the hills. What does the hills represent? The hills represents the high place. From whence cometh my help? Well, my help, what kind of help? Because many people are going to need help when there's joblessness, when there is when there are mortgage increases, when they're talking about not just a recession, they are talking about a depression with inflation, with gas prices going up. What does this mean? My help cometh from the Lord. What Lord? Are you still believing in a spook God? Or are you still looking for rescue to come from somewhere else other than your own consciousness and your own ability to mobilize yourself and your finances? What, Lord? Law of life. Well, what is the law of life? The law of life is found in the land. The law of life is found in your blood and your bloodline. That means you have to develop a relationship with the land. You have to develop a relationship with your blood. The blood. They say we plead the blood in the old religion. Well, what blood are you pleading when you begin to speak to your ancestors, when you begin to call forth the energy of your ancestors to show you, to open your third eye, to open and decalcify your pineal gland so that you're not so weak. When I say you, I mean me. We are not so resistant to new information that we are fighting it. We're snarky about it. We are dismissive because we want to have our head in the clouds, because the law of life means we need to know how to mix up herbs. We need to know how to can our food. We need to know how to grow our food. We need to know how to mix up medicines to treat ourselves. We need to know to have a relationship with the animals that you go into the grocery store to purchase and eat. Do you know how to grow them? Do you know how to skin them? Do you know how to cook them? And do you know how to treat them and cut them? Do your men know? Do your sons know? My help cometh from the Lord, the law of life. Lord means law of life, not some man that is sitting to rescue you, not a king. In some societies, other people were given the title of Lord. It said, it tells you which Lord, which made heaven and earth, the creator. So if I'm focusing on a creator, then I must be the creative power, its agent of creativity. And when we come into this whole talk around the divine feminine, we love to talk about the sexual creativity. We love to talk about the creativity of the orgasm. But what does that do when you have a wet behind and an empty pocket? What does that do when you have a wet behind and you don't know how to feed your family? It doesn't do much for you, right? You forget about all your juicy tools, juicy butterflies. For those of you or any of you who have activated your divine feminine, you forget about those things. It says on the 3rd verse, he will not suffer thy foot to be moved. He that keepeth thee will not slumber. Isn't that interesting that is the word that is there? Why does it say this? I'm so glad that you asked. What are we keeping and what are we slumbering? Because many of us have had to be still. And that's wise when you don't know what's going on, instead of getting caught up in the frantic of activity and the frantic of other people's despair, because some people are not conscious. They only get their information from sources that, listen, the last stronghold on the minds of civilization right now is not even the government. Everybody is questioning government income. It's not even religion to the degree that it has been. It is the media. And this is why we see Meta that's creating an alternative universe. Even when we look at TikTok, the TikTok that they see in Asia is not the TikTok that we see in America. Why? Because they're using the media to program our children to not even know their own gender, to question their gender. So when you don't have a gender, now you become neutral, so neutral now that you become a vessel of artificial intelligence. And now the politics and the Holly weirdness is making it okay to question what a woman is. It says, my help cometh from the Lord, which made heaven and earth, creator. And the woman is the vessel of creativity. And if the question about womanhood is entering on the planet, who is planting that into the minds of our children and into the minds and hearts of other women? Such that we celebrate, we get so excited because we see skin folk, but they're not kinfolk. Because when they get on the stand and they're asked the question, what is a woman? They do not give a definitive answer because it's no longer politically correct, and it has not been. Womanhood is the last frontier that this beast, and there is a nefarious energy on the land. We think that it's human. Just like the Bible is not just a book of religion, it is a book about families. It is a book about royalty. And we have not seen royalty because many of us are still telling the slave story, which I wish I had known before now, y'all. I'm learning, even myself, how much of our history has been altered and reconstructed for us to focus on Africa and ships coming to Africa when many of us have lineage right here in this land. We are the indigenous people of this land. They are now finding out that Ancestry.com is owned by the Mormons. The Mormons own most of the the big corporations, including Amazon. So if you can sell off your birthright to a land that you are not originally from, when it's time for you to declare yourself free from the how do I say this without getting flagged even on the recording? But let's just say sovereignty is not a bad word in the spiritual realm, in your bloodline. Sovereignty has become a bad word because of other people who have usurped it for other intentions. But when we talk about spiritual sovereignty, it extends into other places of our lives. And we can never be too old to learn. So behold, the fourth verse says, behold, he that keepeth Israel shall not slumber. Where is Israel? See, we think that Israel, which is my point in case, is a land that's over in the Middle East. But when you understand that the maps have been turned upside down and have been flipped, just like you live in a city and you heard them say we're redistricting, we're moving the lines. This is not new. You can go right in Washington, D.C. right now and go look at an old map in Washington, D.C. and see that they called certain places that are now in the U.S., they were calling them by names of other countries. This is documented. Africa was not always what we've known it. So when you see the text referring to certain lands, we look at what we can see now, just like we do our lives. We look at what we can see right now. We don't look and say, let me study the genealogy. The truth has a genealogy. Truth has a lineage. Royalty has a lineage, and you, beloveds, are a part of it, and it goes all the way to the cosmos, the great mother. This is the time for the matriarchy to rise up, not just on the planet, but in our homes, in our own consciousness. Many of us have accepted the Western philosophy of a man choosing us, not knowing that the matriarch has always chosen. She's chosen who she mates with. She's chosen when she births. She's chosen who will be the heir. She's chosen where you move. And so we have become so flipped inside out, and everything that we thought was wrong is right, and everything that we thought was right is wrong when you do the genealogy of truth. Where is Israel? Do I have resources? Yes. That's why I'm so grateful that I have an app, so I can post the resources just from other people, so you don't think your sister is crazy. Oh, she just a revolutionary. Oh, she just whatever. But no. So you can hear from sources and elders. This is the time for us to listen to the elders that we have dismissed as well. The Lord is thy keeper. The Lord is the shade upon thy right hand. So here we go. Why is the law of life our keeper? Why? What does it mean, the shade on our right hand, and why the right hand? Even that is codology. There's a right-handed path and there's a left-handed path of spirituality. There's a right-handed priesthood. There's a left-handed priesthood. And oftentimes you only know these things when you study old artifacts. You'll see people giving signals through the right hand, through the left hand, through sigils, through there's ways to communicate other than just our words, because at one point books were burned. The sun shall not smite thee by day, nor the moon by night. They're talking about, y'all, that right now they're talking about being prepared for when the power goes down. Do we know how to read the day and the night? What does that represent? The sun. I probably got to keep on breaking this down some more, And I promise that I will, because I got to come back to it, because when we look at the sun, we're also looking at a signal of astronomy and astrology. What is represented by the sun is Leo. Well, Leo is the opposite sign of Aquarius. We're in the age of Aquarius. When we're in the age of Aquarius, what that means is that Aquarius is the rebel, the revolutionary. We're in a revolutionary time. And just as things are being revealed, there's a priesthood that walks the left-handed path that is trying to cover up the right-handed path. Even when you look in the East, you don't shake with your left hand. There's a reason for that. Y'all with me? Let me know in the comments that you with me so I can keep going. I know I'm moving through this fast, and we're going to get to the juicy part of lifting our spirit. But first, we have to lift the darkness out of our mindsets. The Lord shall preserve thee from all evil. See, the law of life, when you begin to study the law of life and not the prince of death, the prince of darkness, because just like there's a prince of peace, there's a prince of death and a prince of darkness. And so far, he represents this Piscean age. He is some of your elected officials. That's why it's called democracy, okay? Some of the things are hidden right here in plain sight. Can I keep going? And so why will we be preserved? Because people who are starting to tap in and call out the evil without the fear mongering, whenever you start to be afraid, when you start to worry about your livelihood, check in with yourself. Go say, wait a minute. I gotta go study something. I gotta go ask a question. I gotta go look into what's going on. Let me give you a good example, a good model real quick, if I may, is during when we were filming Fix My Life, and they told us, the word on the street at that time before was ever announced, because many of us do have friends in high places. They said, hey, they're getting ready to shut down the globe. They're getting ready to shut it down, y'all. And so we said, oh, wow. And then some of us were like, nah, they ain't going to do that. Okay. So that was the first alert. And so sure enough, it came on set. We got to stop filming, finish this particular thing, and then we got to stop filming. So there were instructions. You need to stock up on things. You need to go get water. Of course, they were talking about the toilet paper and all these things during that time. And so I knew, because I had been trained. I am a former MGT from the Nation of Islam. There was a time where I would not say that. But in that training and in that mobilization, I have been taught and learned how to mobilize, how to discern, how to know how to prepare for certain things. We used to have survival kits. We taught our women. I think that it's time for us as a tribe to learn how to prepare survival kits, how to have codes in your family, to be able to talk to one another and to give codes when it's time to move. Because you need to be able to know how to communicate sometimes without going into distress. Anyway, so you understand the context of that training. I said, okay, I did what we needed to do, ordered a few things, but I settled down. I got quiet. I did not talk to anyone. I stayed abreast just enough to know what was being announced, because that would tell me what some of their plans were. And so I said, okay, let me study the thing that triggers me the most. Everybody was triggered by the Republicans, but I went into the rabbit hole to see, what are they saying? Why are they saying this? And I started to listen, and I started to use my metaphysical interpretation and understanding of things. Then I started to look at the history and the context. Then I started to go into law, because I also have worked for a mayor and a council member. And so I know how to study the law and how to decode. What are we talking about when we're talking about law? Is this constitutional? What are we doing? What our rights now are up for question. So I started to study everything that triggered me, and I learned so much. And I became neutral. And I was no longer triggered, and my eyes began to open and understand why many of our people had to be redirected to another agenda that was emotional. And I sat and I prepared. This is the mark when you're told how to mark your house so that the plague will pass from you, Passover. This is the law of life. He shall preserve the soul. Whenever you see he, it's not talking about a male deity. It is talking about the conscious mind. The Lord shall preserve thy going out and thy coming in from this time forth and even more. The law of life. Do you clean yourself going out in and out of your house, or are you tracking in the energies of outside? So, sisters, when we talk about rising, listen, it's not, I can't just stop there, because I have to look at Psalm and go to the book of David and understand that David was the one who inspired the Psalm. What about David? David is the one. This is where the lift comes. This is where it comes the time to get lifted. Why Psalm? David was both a lover and a fighter, a warrior. He was very strategic. You will find that in Psalms. Psalms is a book that is used by many high priestesses to communicate into beyond the veil, into the cosmos, to call forth money, to break spirits and spells. Psalms is powerful. But check this out. Psalm 121. Why 121? Well, when you add the 1, the 2, and the 3, you get 4. Well, 4, this particular verse 4, there's 4 directions on the earth. The north, the south, the east, and the west, they all represent energies. They all represent divine communication. You have 4 corners in your house. What is the condition of those corners? Are they cluttered? Have you anointed them? Have you cleared them? Have you gone into those corners to pray? See, I'm breaking it down from the high level right into our practices. There are 8 scriptures that 8 verses that I just read. 8 is the number, the karmic number of infinity. It also is the number of prosperity. We have to clear some of the ancestral karma, the bloodline karma. That is the shadow work that we have to do so that we can be in the light. A lot of times the light cannot come in because we are still holding on to the dark parts of our stories in our families, in ourselves. 4 is a part of 8. When we study 444, when we study, even Jay-Z wrote a song about 444, that wasn't just for entertainment's sake. The whole song is about legacy. 444. The 888. There are codes that we have to talk about, no longer just to be inspired. So this is both a clarion call, but to clear and to lift ourselves. We cannot get stuck. Let me say this too. Even when we look at David in the book of Psalms, David made some moves that will make you question, like, his heart at times. You know, David wasn't perfect, but that's a good thing, because oftentimes we look to leadership to be perfect. We look to teachers to be perfect. And most of your most wise sages were not perfect. In fact, they couldn't be in order to be amongst the people. Surrender the need to be a good girl so much that you're trying to get it right and be so perfect that even you may push away new information because you think you got to do this other thing first, or to receive your blessing and your birthright because you think you're not ready. Somebody else was given the kingship for David. They didn't want David. Even in Psalm and through David, there's a spirit of unwantedness. There's a spirit of betrayal. There's a spirit of treason. There's a wicked king that's trying to take the man who had the birthright. Even in this text, it's happening right now. I'm gonna put something up. Some of you may not be able to see it because you came in on audio only, but it will be in the app. It will be on YouTube. I posted some of these things in the app, but I want to close out in spirit and in truth. David metaphysically represents rulership that is withdrawn from the head. Many of us have been so caught into our head, into our intellect. And our intellect has been informed and educated by our enemy. We have to unlearn so that we can relearn. My grandmother was a gardener. When we call forth the names of our ancestors today, we need to call forth the ones who knew the land, who were gardeners. We need to call them forth and ask them to reveal to us the next most appropriate step. It may not be your mother. You're looking too close. You're being too macroscopic. It may be beyond your mother, and you are the answer to her prayers. But my grandmother was man, she was a farmer. She was a gardener. She was amazing, y'all. When I stayed with my grandmother, I would wake up in the morning and she would already be up in her garden pulling out vegetables to cook. So even growing up, many of us grew up on eating foods that were grown by the hands of real people, not machines. That's why it didn't make us sick. Call on that energy. I would wake up in the morning, my granny, boy, she'd be out there picking peas, greens. She even grew corn. The only thing that I didn't see directly on my grandmother's land was the animals. But sure enough, they tell you that sharecropping was something that was bad, and many of us don't look. That when people started to go off to college to get educated, they started to look down on the family members who were sharecroppers, and that's why many of the old farms got taken by other companies, because just like people are losing their family houses to gentrification because we don't know the value of things. And let me speak to responsibility. There is a responsibility to being the priestess of the household. There is a responsibility to being a spiritual leader, a spiritual voice, a spiritual knower, like Noah. Noah knew something, and he had to gather people two by two because people thought he was crazy. You may be the Noah in your family, and people think that you are crazy, but you have to gather and tribe up two by two if you have to. 2 chickens, 2 cows, 2 sheep, 2 friends, 2 male, 2 female. Whatever we have to do, we have to know that even if it's not happening in our families now, we have to tribe up. We are the indigenous people of our land. The land is waiting on us to reclaim it, and it's also written in law. Okay, all right, I won't get too far into that. But when we start talking about kingship and royal families and royal bloodlines, the people who stole it from you, do you think that they're going to come and tell you? No, that is why when you go to study it, you says, show thyself approved. We got to question everything, then question and then study again. Question everything, then study again. Question everything and then study again. Why? Because this is the time of the mother. Then this is, we even see the signals. On Mother's Day, Kendrick Lamar released the Heart 5 on Mother's Day. He even has a song on there about mothers and oh my gosh. At first I didn't like it. But what that brother did, first of all, I didn't realize that he was a Gemini. He's a Gemini communicating on Mother's Day. Why did he release that on Mother's Day, the Heart 5? Why did he morph into several faces of men? Now, this is something that I do want us to gather together in, and I think I'm gonna have to do a private inner circle mastermind for us to become strategic for some of this, because y'all, we have been holding our men in the wrong places. The Heart 5 is so powerful. He uses the track of Marvin Gaye to communicate the phases of what we've seen that's happened to man. OJ is the first one who betrayed the Black woman. And we saw what happened to him. Then the next one is Kanye. Now, Kanye is also a Gemini. I don't know. I haven't checked to see what OJ is, but we do have to pay attention to those things as well. He lost his mother. And his life went. You see the thread of the man's relationship with women in particular, all the way through to the wounded masculine with Will Smith, to the Christ consciousness in Nipsey Hussle. But it's all about the woman. There are signs all around us about the woman right now, about womanhood. And it's no longer the season just to latch on to these airy-fairy goddesses, self-made priestesses movements about the divine feminine, without honoring the masculine. That's what I want to make sure we say that. We have to embrace our relationship with the divine masculine. We have to heal our relationship with men. We have to partner with men. Even if you identify as same gender loving, we are going to need to be strategic in our relationships with our men. You are the priestess of not just your household, but when you can understand that you are the priestess of your household, rise to the occasion and stop waiting to be rescued by a knight on a shining armor. That is not how royal families work. When you look at the royal family that they have given us, who do they bow to? It is the queen. Who is the key on the chessboard? It is the queen. We have to understand that we created the men that we see. Our relationship with other women started at another level as well. So when we talk about we can't trust women, where did this foolishness start? Where did the betrayal happen? Where did it happen in our melanated history? Where did it happen in your family? When you do your shadow work, you clear it in yourself so you can open to the next portal of understanding. We have to be able to clear so that we can stop being afraid of ourselves, our medicine, our land, our knowing. And yes, even the scriptures that put us to sleep are the ones that are going to break the spell on our minds and our hearts. The Aquarian age, through the heart, the Leo, there's the heart energy again. Just like the sun energy was mentioned in that scripture. Leo, because it is the opposite of Aquarius. So when you look at one energy, you have to look at the opposite energy. Even by your own sun sign, pay attention to even your sun sign. In order to do your shadow work, in order to balance your polarities, you have to look at the opposite of what you are. The opposite of Cancer is Capricorn. The opposite of Gemini is Sagittarius, and so on and so forth. To balance your own polarities, to balance sometimes our hormones, we're pleading the blood. When we look at the law of life, you can't plead blood that's toxic and unclean. We are going to have to detox also in community and support one another to clean our filters, to get the weight off of us so that we can run, we can jump, we can move when we have to, when we can be strong enough to fast. When they talk about food shortages, most of us are overeating. Can you fast for 7 days? Well, we'll have enough food. And by the way, this is not new for us if we know how to can food. But we become such a much that we rather buy everything in a can manufactured by corporations that kill us with formaldehyde. But can we can our own foods? Can we sew our own clothes? We're going to have to be able to love one enough, love each other enough through this heart energy so that we can barter. We can get through this next phase that's coming, because we are going to have to know how to free our statuses in law. Yes, I said that. So that when they come knock on your door, you will know who your identity is beyond the Constitution, in the Constitution and beyond the Constitution. To force you to put chips in your body, which is what this Biden administration is talking about right now. I look to the hills from whence cometh my help. I had to look to the hills. So I have to come up out of the valley consciousness. I call you together today that even though there are souls who are leaving in the valley, don't get stuck there, because those souls came to be volunteers too. I posted Dolores Cannon on my page. There are souls right now who are coming in and leaving out as volunteers. When we deal with universal law, sometimes we only want to look at our pain gone too soon. Who said that? Because no man knows the day or the hour is what my elders said. So live right now and make a difference for your legacy so that you will never die. You will only multiply. We do have to think about now, but we also have to think about later, our legacy and the legacies that was left for us. Y'all with me today? Oh my goodness. I wanna play something for y'all real quick. Will you give me a few more minutes before we go into prayer? Or do you want me to do that later? Do you want me to show you a little data later? You want me to show you the data now, or you want me to show you the data later? Because my spirit is on fire, and I can go into praise and worship at any time. I got one, show me now. Show it now. Now, I got another now. Okay. So I'm going to share my screen real quick. I want to show you something. You know, I've had many teachers, my love, and this is one of my teachers. I want you to hear what she's saying. I said more than fathers, because we got confused. We think that God is male. That is equal to male and female. Once we awaken, and the night of God himself, we will stop mistreating each other. God and a goddess, you'll stop mistreating her. All right. That's also on my page and in the app. I want you all to take a look at that. I'm going to play one thing also that I could not post. Literally told me it was banned in the world, but it is posted in the app. If you can see it, fine. If you cannot see it, it should be on YouTube, and it's also posted in the app. But listen to this. This is the Pope kneeling to the Black woman. In the West, what the clip you just heard was Mother Tynetta Muhammad, peace and blessings upon her. She was one of my mentors. Let me go there first. Peace and blessings upon her. She is someone I sat at the feet and learned so much from, and she was a truly almost like a saint walking the earth. She was the first one who always reminded us of our relationship to the indigenous people, because we are the indigenous people here. So that was Mother Tynetta Muhammad, Mafarifun Egun. And so now we are looking at, I'm showing a picture of the Pope kneeling to the Black woman, the Black Madonna in every other land except the United States of America is painted as your skin tone. Do you see this? Do you see the sources? I also posted the source as reading material in the newsletter. Okay, so if you did not see it for any reason because of the delay, I do want you to understand to know that it's up on the channel, and I want you to understand that it's time, y'all. It's time for us to go higher, to look to the hills from whence cometh our help. We cannot keep looking on the surface level. It's time for us to go higher in our knowledge, wisdom, and understanding of our woman, not just our womanhood for femaleness, but in power. And so I call you all forth to speak to your DNA, to activate your DNA, and to understand that this is the time. So I'm going to just do a little song just to settle my energy and yours, so that we can come in and we can hear each other's voices. You can take yourself off mute and speak if you have that capability, so that we can call forth the names of our ancestors and pray ourselves out of here today to live. But for this moment, take a breath to receive everything that I just said to you. That's my prayer today as we prepare to share, so that you will be able to fill your cup in this space. I want to know if there is anyone had a leap in their belly. There was something that you heard. That this is the Mary and the Elizabeth moment, when both of them were pregnant with something, and when they came into each other's presence, there was a leap inside of the life, the law of life, the pregnancy, the law of two creative powers, creative souls coming together. Something I said to you was what resonated with you. So can you take yourself off mute if there's someone who would like to speak, and then we'll do our prayer in just a moment. I'd like to make way for at least 4 of you coming in on the energy of Psalms 121. We want to play with that number 4. Take yourself off mute and share, or you can write it in the comments and I'll read it. Anyone want to share the belly leap? I'm going to see if I can unmute everyone. You should be able to unmute. And I understand if there's a technical difficulty. Good
morning,
Can you all
Latanya.
speak? Is anyone trying?
I am.
Okay, I heard I
Good
am.
morning,
Go
Latanya.
ahead.
Good morning,
Go ahead,
Latanya.
love.
Good morning. This is Karen.
Good morning. Go ahead.
My belly leaped when you said that you carry the DNA of your ancestor, and my mother used to say this all the time, that I carried the mannerisms of her grandmother, and rising up early in the morning to make bread and stuff for my family. And I was mocked for it, and I stopped doing it. And now I realize I've got to go back to that. I've always wondered why. And my mother told me before she passed away, that when she transitioned, that I had her grandmother's spirit. To want to mix herbs and to mix herbs and things together for healing. I didn't understand why. And, like I said, I was made fun of and called weird. But now I understand why. So, yes, that leaped in my belly this morning.
Give thanks. Thank you so much for sharing, sis. Who's next? Welcome, and it's good to hear your voice as well. Cheryl said that her belly leap was truth is genealogy. Okay. All right. 2 more.
Good morning. This is Jeannie.
Hey, Jeannie, go ahead, sis.
Yes. One of the things that really struck me was, reminding us the need for us to also honor the divine masculine as we embrace our divine feminine. That we need the balance. We need that yin and yang in order for us to really do all that we're here to do. Thank you.
Ashe, thank you so much.
Good morning, this is Reverend Cynthia, and in the consciousness of what Jeannie just spoke, it was just a wonderful reminder when you spoke of our feminine and masculine energy, because we have both, and more importantly, as women, who we are, and the responsibility that we have as women, and the lineage and royalty that we are, that even though it's been shifting, especially here, that the woman always was the leader and the power. Even in our households where men were put out front, they would always say that we were the ones that controlled everything and were the power. So thank you for saying that and that reminder.
Ashe, Ashe. Thank you so much. If there are any other comments, please put them in the chat, and we will also hold back for a little bit because I do have some giveaways for you today. I'm really led to give away to everybody who showed up. That's why we have a registration as well. So if you did, what I want you to do is go in the app and make sure you put present, so that the extra gifts that I give, I will know who to give them to. But I am gonna make some teachings available, and also do a special meeting to go into some of the things that you may have questions about. And it's okay if there's some things that you don't believe, that you take issue with. Like, everybody's not from Africa, you know, and some of you know that, and you've known that, but didn't want to say that out loud. You don't even resonate with all the tribes. And there are 12 tribes talked about in the Bible. Why does the Bible talk about the 12 tribes? And why are they waiting on one tribe to awaken? The other tribes are waiting for us to awaken to who we are. What are those tribes? Why do we have to know start at cracking the codes in the Bible? Why do we need to know the numbers? Why? Because the priesthood is in politics, and they're always talking. Sometimes we think they're talking to us, and they're talking to each other, and we need to know that. So at this time, everybody may not be able to take themselves off mute, but we want to call forth the power of our grandmothers, our grandfathers, the ones who worked the land. Listen, my grandmother picked cotton, and I'm not that old. My mother picked cotton for a time in her life. My mother, when I told her that I had chicken, she said, "Oh, yeah, I remember we used to have chicken." "Oh, you don't remember when we had hogs?" "No, I don't remember, but my cells remember." Call them forth. So let us begin. If you cannot speak, you can put the names and I will speak the names. I'm going to just play a little ancestor music, honey, because when we sing these gospel songs, we're not going backwards. We're going forward, but we're using the energy to communicate on the songs that they knew and that they loved. Oh, my goodness. I hope you hear me this morning. Now begin to speak their names. You can take yourself off mute. Sarah Bolden, Chelsea B. Taylor, Ashe.
Martha Colburn, Walton,
Ashe.
Valerie, Mary, Marie, Elsie,
Julia, Cora, Ellen,
Juanita, Walter, Daniel Johnson.
The Richardsons, yes, Jeff, Hershey, Gertrude, Sally, Naomi, Ashe. All of the Taylors, all of the McRavens, the Nobles, the Nash. Call out your bloodline. Call them out by their last name. Yeah.
The Colburn.
Ashe. Oh. The Binions, Ashe. Ashe. The Dixons, Ashe.
The Grants. The Peacocks.
Ashe. Horacio, Pedro, Martinez, Nicholson, Santana, Ashe. Call them in. Call in the Choctaw, the Iroquois, the Blackfoot, the Washita. Call in the tribes. Yeah. Woo! Call them in. Let that marinate in our spirit. Take a breath in through your nose and out through your mouth. Mother, Father, God, Holy Spirit, all that is, the eachness of our allness, the allness of your eachness, we call forth the spiritual power into the minds, the hearts of every woman here and the bloodlines that they represent today on this call. We ask, Holy Spirit, that the spirit of despair not come near our dwelling, that even though we may grieve, we may mourn, we may feel our feelings, we ask that we feel them like the flow of the rivers, but we will be planted planted by the rivers of water, and be not moved by every wind that blows, because you said in your word that there will be winds that will blow on the dry bones in the valley. And so sometimes when the winds blow, we may feel like the dry bones, but we ask that we be like the tree firmly planted by the rivers, that there will be flow in our lives, that there will be flow of our emotions, that there will be flow of information, that there will be flow into our gardens of life, that there will be flow into our pockets and our prosperity, that there will be flow into our bloods and of health, of wellness, of prosperity, of understanding and understanding. Pray for freedom and liberation right now for those on this call who hear it, who hear the call to understand that there is more to understand, that there is more to know. We call it forth knowing that those ancestors and those lines that we call will speak to us, that will give us signs, that they will give us ways to understand and discern, to be able to decode the word that has put our people into a sleep and into a slumber. And then we are the ones that have been called for to be the wake-up message, not in a way that we are irritating like an alarm clock, but that we are like the honey to bees to honey, because of the lives that we live. We give thanks right now for every woman on this call who is feeling the light come into her remembrance, into her cells, into her way of being, that she will be a light into the darkness, but that you will protect her light, that it will not attract the dark and nefarious energies that are also out here, that we will continue to clean ourselves so that we can rise and anoint the corners of our house and of our minds, the corners in our minds, that we will clear the cobwebs out, that we will begin to affirm the things that take us higher. We will speak life, and that we will speak over our lives and the lives of our children, grandchildren, mentees, loved ones, and our spiritual tribes, that we will gather in numbers and that we will raise ourselves quietly without even anyone suspecting, that we will be protected by the militaries that have been called gangs, that have been the warriors, the street warriors who do not even know who they are, that we, when they look into our eyes, that they will see the spirit of the mother, the great mother, the cosmic mother, that we activate the great and cosmic mother energy that gives life to all right here, right now, without apology. We give thanks right now for those who are activating their bank accounts, and that they're becoming entrepreneurs, that they are no longer being handcuffed by a 9-to-5 and worrying about losing livelihood, therefore staying in a slumber. And those who are stealing away, give them the strength and the courage to know their gifts, and that their gifts will make room for them. We ask this and so much more. We give honor to the royal bloodline that we all originated from right here, right now. We ask that this bloodline speak to us, that we look to the hills from which cometh our help, and we take our eyes off of the activities of the valley, that we will know how to receive the warnings, to mark our homes and to mark our hearts. But for this and so much more, we say yes and ashe, and we let it be so, and so it is. We give thanks right now for this energy. We give thanks right now for those of you who are receiving this energy. We ask that you, if you want to stay back after this song, that you will stay right into the room to ask any questions, to share and impart anything that will be of service. But in this moment, just let this energy marinate. Yeah. Let this energy. Yeah, we can chant. We can hum. We can breathe. But I don't know, it's something about when I begin to sing like my grandmother sang, who sat on the mother's board. I don't know what it is about it. It's something that my soul gets unleashed. I don't know what it is about it. Maybe I do. I don't know. It's just me. I'll praise by myself. I'll do it all by myself. There's the old song that says, I'll go if I have to go by myself. If my mother don't go, father don't go, sister don't go, I'll go if I have to go by myself. Thank you all for joining, right? And I'm going to release some of you who are on a time clock. But if there's something that you heard that you have a question about, this is not a performance for me. This is a sacred commission. And I know that there will only be a few who will hear and say, yes, I need to gather. I will post more information about the opportunity to mastermind and how that can look. And it's not going to be about the money for me. And most of my work is not, although I do charge my worth. But we do need to look at from those of you who are experts in homeschooling, we need for you to come to the front of the line. Mothers need to know. Those of you who know how to grow food, and if you don't, I'm going to bring them in. How do you grow in apartments? How do you do community sharing and land? How are you preparing to purchase land? How can you live if you lose your job? Do you have what needs to be in your home if the power does go out so you don't panic? Are you teaching your sons and your daughters how to communicate with you with codes? Do you all hear what I'm saying? How many of you can take yourself off mute? And I'm going to stop sharing into YouTube at this time. If you are listening, and I'm going to have to make this YouTube, this link private because I've used so many songs, and as it should be. But this is the only recording that I have. There will be other gatherings we have that will not be recorded in the live stream because there's information that I will not edit. And it has to be in private, which is the purpose of the app. So I say that as a disclaimer at the end because you may go to look for it. I will try to leave it up. They're probably going to flag it because of some of the music.